That's true. Loving you is loving me. You're in my mirror. Okay. So you know that if I love who I am, I got to be loving my mirror or what's in my mirror. Right? So loving you is loving me. Loving me is loving you. Right? That way you get a chance to experience what I am, which is what love is, and I get a chance to experience what you are, which is what love is, because you're experiencing what I am. Right? Yeah. That's a two-way communication of love vibration, ain't it? It's I was musing here a few minutes ago when I see other posts that just sort of pop up because I'm getting ready to shut the phone off for the evening, right? And go have a Z attack. You know what a Z attack is, right? Zzz. And I was pondering here, self-reflecting on when in my childhood with other friends I used to grow up with. And this would have been probably when I was in 7th and 8th grade in junior high school in Orange County, California. Growing up in what you would probably call an economically advantaged area, right? Because people had Roman homes, running water, electricity, right? Toasters. They didn't have microwave ovens back then. As a matter of fact, and this is true, a lot of the things that were in circulation, okay, depending on whether you're running binary or trinary codes. But like, for example, when I looked in my mother's cupboard, the things that she had in her cupboard, like when my mother made mustard, for example, my mother got a brand called Coleman, and it was mustard powder. Everything that my mother used to cook with was natural, came organic. In other words, it came directly from trinary-based plants, the real stuff, like real peppercorns, real spices, right, that are grown naturally, right? In other words, it's not synthetic or artificial life stuff, okay, using polymers and all that. And that's when you get into the burning up the consciousness of the planet. Everything, remember my uncle on my aunt's side, my father's sister's side, on my father's side, what's his name? Wallace B. Carruthers, invented nylon. And so you can see all the changes that are taking place over time, which is going to change the codes when they went from, like, for example, I grew up wearing 100% cotton shirts or wool. In other words, they were natural garments, different frequencies, different color frequencies. They were not synthetics. Okay, which is probably why early on in my childhood I was wanting to make my own clothes as an artist, right? Using different colors and trying to find as natural stuff that comes right out of the jungle. And much what you see in the native indigenous spirit, right? Spirit form, particularly a lot of the costumes that so many different tribes wear, that are just beautiful, just absolutely gorgeous, artistic expression of how nature works. So many of those costumes actually are the math and physics encoded in natural energy formation, spiritual energy, the way that spiritual energy forms what it is we experience in our mirror. I call it Mama Healing Artist, because it's the music. When you walk into a forest, when you walk into nature, you're experiencing music. You might not hear it, but you are. Your antenna's picking it up. Absolutely. That's why I spent so much of my life in nature. That's why I live on the Big Island, even though I'm in this house, right? Particularly being around big trees, big trees with a lot of ferns, big green, real thick green vegetation. That's just like a lot of life. There's a lot of vibrating stuff. There's a lot of life that's vibrating. A lot of living souls and living spirits as living sacred temples of living light experiencing what love is. We're all dancing to the music together. And then that becomes the ecosystem or the biosphere or the reality that we're all thriving on. So we're running on the energy in which everything is thriving. That'd be all the water, all the air, all the elementals, all the molecules. Yeah. Powerful stuff. So it really is mirror management. Absolutely. Let's see if anything pops up that I might want to share, but things are moving pretty fast now, boy. But it is. What prompted this was because of what I remember in my childhood. When you're running a radio set, right, and you have what I call an open receiver, which is an open heart, which means you're running a full-blown high-speed magnetic tetrahedron, right? And so you're excited. You're an exceptionally excited kid. You're on fire, right? So what it means is you're not hiding nothing. You are who you are, right? Hey, I'm glad to meet you. Who are you, right? So when people get to realize, whoa, you're not afraid to be who you are at all. You're not hiding nothing. No, I didn't come in here to win a popularity contest. I came in here to learn as fast as I possibly could while I'm on a spiritual battlefield. So what happens is you're tuned into their radio set. So you begin to realize that when a few radio sets are all tuned into each other to run the music, so we're all harmonizing with the waves, and so our radio sets are all in tune. So when we're all in tune and we realize, hey, we're running on a higher state of consciousness, and what that means is there's no resistance in our capacitors on a motherboard, if you will. Okay, to experience more energy. Now that your consciousness is expanded way out there, hey man, now that all the libraries start to open up based on what we've learned through experience, right? And then things just start to click. So it began like this language that we just shared the things we just know. Like, yeah, man, you and I are on the same wavelength, which means we're picking up the signals. So we know the difference between what's real, what's not real. What's an illusion, what's not an illusion. And I just watched, what's his name, Bill Donahue cover the story of the Bhagavad Gita. What is it, an enchilada? The story of the enchilada, the Baghdad Vita, like in vitamins, the vitamin shop, between Krishna, right, Buddha, and the nature of the carnal mind, the left side, the right side, right, and Jesus, right? And that would be like 3, right? About how one is a warring side, right? Warring, and how they sort of come together to become one. Now, in a polarity game, that's really what it is. When you get into the negative RH blood factor, right? Negative electrical currents, and then you have the positive electrical currents, or if you will, the two magnets, right? And knowing the difference between what you are and what you're not. So if you're one with all creation, you're gifting high-speed acceleration of electrons flooding the Terra, flooding the universe with electrons, with the real stuff, because they're experiencing real love through you, right? So that means you're a free spirit. You don't allow anything to hold your energy captive, and you're not holding your own energy captive by holding others captive. So in other words, we don't attach ourselves to something else as a source of energy. Hell no, man, we're generators. Right? So other people are experiencing how much energy you're actually generating by how free your mind actually is. Right? That means you're not following any rule-based functions. You're not a bot. Right? Which means your mind's not being held captive by a machine. Right? Throw the rule book out. So it's just like, I am the rule book. One law. Love is the law. I am what love is. Okay, so you're naturally not doing any harm to anything, right? What I do to you, I do to me. It actually is that simple. So the ultimate result of a war game mirror, when the left side just cannot join to become one with all creation, right? What happens? The energy becomes finite because it's warring against its own mirror. What is it war against? Itself. Because it's running a mirror. Otherwise, it couldn't see itself. You couldn't see the universe that it's in. What is out there? I can't see any. It's like the blind man. Remember, there used to be something when I was a kid, because I noticed this. This is the blind leading the blind. That's what it is. That's what I experienced when I was a small little boy. Right? But you don't impose your will on nobody. So it's just like that Navajo elder said one time. He says, well, it's your free will. It's sort of like the results. Are we results oriented? We experience the results of what we do with our own energy. Just like Aaron upstairs. Just like I've done. Shooting myself in the foot, cutting off your nose to spite your face. Remember that? Right? So when you get tired of hurting yourself, at some point you're going to make a course correction. Rehabilitate your soul and your spirit and get back on the right track. Right? So when you restored your energy, restored your spirit, now you're experiencing what love is. Now you remember who the hell you are, from whence it all began. You go through the rehabilitation process of restoring your spirit. Spirit is the teacher. Spirit is in the light. That means that's what love is. So you're learning through what love is. So that means you have a God consciousness connection to eternal love. And it's unconditional because it doesn't require a fee in order to experience it. It's free. It's free energy. Here. Take all you want. You can have it all. And it comes at no charge, and it's actually automatic. You don't even have to think about it. It's just always there. It's always on. The light is always on. That fire is always lit. That's your mirror. That's right. Just like this stuff right here. And you can better well believe I love big fires on a beach. Burning a lot of driftwood, singing songs and dancing to the stars, right? Hoop dancers. I'm a drummer boy. I'm a little drummer boy. I came out of my mama's womb with a drum. A badass drum. Let's go dancing. Yeah. That's actually another measurement that I noticed over time. You begin to notice things that disappear. In other words, it's like you no longer experience it in the movie projector screen anymore. When it used to be like when I was growing up in junior high school, in 7th grade, we used to have what was called dances. So a live band would come in. I get the Wonderland, Jim Morrison, all the military, corporate, psychological operations with all the bands. Okay. I interface with quite a few of those folks, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, Grateful Dead, all those folks that actually came out into the 60s, and why that whole operation was sort of woven like a tapestry through the AI, okay, with all of its assets, okay, that are integrated with finite light, artificial life intelligence, right? Which is the left side, okay? That's why when they were coming out with all your computerized learning, machine-based learning, that's what it is, machine-based learning. And machine-based learning will never, ever, ever be able to accelerate at the speed at which eternity can. Which means if you have a soul integrated with spirit, and the spirit is the teacher, you will learn faster through a living spirit that is experiencing what love is. Being on fire as your teacher, as a spiritual guide, you will learn faster when you have a soul connection with an oversoul, to experience the purest of light, which means the capacity for you to experience inside that planet ship will go bonkers. Okay, which means wherever you go, you're going to experience what she is, which is what love is. It goes on forever, gifting electrons connected to the primal currents, the primal sound field, the single crystal point spiral from which it all began. There's no shortage of electrons. Nobody's going without any juice. Nobody's feeding on anybody's battery. Right? So you can imagine how children learning together at a higher rate of speed, because they're experiencing the higher rate of speed of a goddess. Okay? And what you can learn through nature. When your spirit is connected with her spirit and the speed of her energy and how much she loves all of us and what it is she gives us, it's all for free. That's why when I was a child growing up, I realized they always got to stick their nose into stuff. They can't just let it be. They don't realize that there is a natural flow in which spiritual energy, from the smallest of molecules to the biggest of particles of energy that you can imagine, that are all playing a dance together in spirit, in a very natural way in which consciousness as energy is unfolding itself in a very artistic and expressive musical way in which those energies are in harmony. So we're all in harmony with all the musical spirits. The musical spheres. The musical spheres that do a dance with real living light that is on fire. That's who we are. Creation spheres that are on fire, experiencing what love is on fire. And that's what allows us to purify the light, which is why it is known as pure love, which is true love, because it's unconditional. That's how you know that it's really true love, because you're experiencing being loved with that vibration without having to give us anything. And it comes natural. And that's called a natural, spiritual state of being, experiencing what love is in energy. So that has not changed since I was a little boy. That's a gift from heaven. So we gift it. We share it. Share it. Share it. Share it. Share it. And that's why when I was a little boy growing up, you can see the differences, right, amongst children, with those that share and those that don't share. And so much of that is tied directly to their environment, which would be their parents or whoever their caregivers are until they become age of majority, as they say, which is another rule-based function. Remember, we're back to the 1840s when a 12-year-old boy and girl would get married, have a family, build a farm, right? Raise animals and start farming the land and become a part of a thriving community. Right? Yeah. So notice how things changed. Right? So this was all socially engineered by things that are no longer in memory. Now you're experiencing the changes that are now being held in memory. And that would be like the architects planning futures, which are known as future models, because they're already thinking ahead of what they want to use our energy for to build as maze runners, which is more layers and more layers of simulations within simulations within simulations. And they're naturally or unnaturally using our energy to siphon it off in which to do it, which means that their illusions are finite and they ultimately implode. That's where we're at. The ribbon was cut, so they say, which is known as separation point time. I know. It's coming. It's just the way that it works. Chapter 5. Have a good night. Be good to yourselves.